I always dreamed of becoming a mother someday. I imagined decorating the nursery, picking tiny baby clothes, choosing bedtime stories, and yes, selecting the perfect name for my child with my partner. You know, one of those moments you see in sweet montages in movies, where the couple is sitting on the couch going through baby name books, laughing, debating, and finally settling on a name that feels just right. That's how I thought it would go. Never in my life did I expect that someone else, someone outside our marriage, would try to hijack that experience entirely. And the worst part? That someone was my husband's mother. Let me give you some context. I'm 29 years old and happily married to my husband, Mark, who is 31. We've been together for 6 years, married for 3, and this baby is our first. We found out I was pregnant about 7 months ago, and ever since then, it's been a whirlwind of appointments, preparation, and anticipation. I have to say, Mark has been amazing through most of it. Supportive, loving, and present. He reads all the baby books with me, holds my hand during every scan, and even insisted on painting the nursery himself when I offered to help. So, overall, he's been a great partner through this journey. His mom, though, that's a different story. I won't lie and say we were always super close, but in the beginning, my relationship with my mother-in-law was decent. We had polite conversations, exchanged gifts during holidays, and even went out for lunch occasionally. I really thought she liked me. But something changed when I got pregnant. It's like she saw this baby not as my child, but as her second chance to be a mother again, except this time, without all the restrictions of actually giving birth or raising the kid herself. At first, it was small stuff. She'd call multiple times a week to ask how I was feeling, what the doctor said, or whether I was taking my vitamins. It felt sweet at first, caring, thoughtful, but it quickly crossed into controlling territory. Then came the baby name talk. I remember we were at her house for a family brunch, maybe around my second trimester. Everyone was sitting around the table when she said, "I've been thinking a lot about baby names. Our family has such strong naming traditions, you know." I smiled politely, thinking she was just making conversation. But then she looked directly at me and said, "Rose." I think Rose would be perfect. It's elegant, classic, and it was my grandmother's name. I smiled again and nodded, saying something like, "That's a lovely name," because at that point, I didn't think it was worth getting into anything. I assumed she was just tossing ideas out there, maybe suggesting names in the same way people do when they're excited about a new addition to the family. I wasn't threatened by it. I didn't even bring it up to Mark at the time because I truly thought it was harmless. But then it kept happening. Every phone call, every visit, every conversation, she kept circling back to the name Rose. She started bringing it up with relatives, telling them things like, "We can't wait to meet little Rosie," or "Baby Rose will be here before you know it." Again, I assumed maybe she was just using the name as a placeholder. You know how people sometimes refer to babies with nicknames until the real name is decided? But it still felt off. Like she was slowly trying to cement it in everyone's minds so that it would feel wrong to name the baby anything else. At around 5 months pregnant, Mark and I finally started discussing baby names seriously. I brought up a few I liked, some literary ones, a couple that had cultural meaning from my side of the family, and even some gender-neutral ones I thought were cute. He had some ideas too, and we spent a fun evening just brainstorming and laughing about the ridiculous names we'd never use. It felt like a real bonding moment. I felt so connected to him. Then I mentioned that his mom really seemed to like the name Rose, and that she kept using it when referring to the baby. Mark laughed a little and said, "Yeah, she's always loved that name. But don't worry, we'll pick the name together. It's our baby." I relaxed after that. I believed him. I genuinely thought we were on the same page. Spoiler alert, we weren't. A couple of weeks later, we were at his parents' house for dinner. His aunt, cousins, and a few extended family members were there, just a small get-together. Everything was going fine until his mom made a toast. She stood up, raised her glass, and said, "To baby Rose, our little angel. We're so blessed she's joining the family." The room clapped. People smiled, and I just froze. I glanced at Mark, who looked mildly uncomfortable but didn't say anything. I leaned over and whispered, "Did you tell her we agreed on Rose?" And he said, "No. I guess she just assumes that's the name." He sounded sheepish, like he didn't want to cause a scene, but I was fuming inside. After the dinner, on the way home, I told him I felt really upset, that naming our child was something sacred to me, and it felt like his mom was trying to take that away from us. He shrugged and said, "She's just excited." "It's not a big deal." I tried explaining that yes, it is a big deal. This is our daughter. I'm the one carrying her. I should at least get to have a voice in naming her, especially since his mom isn't even asking for our opinion. She's just deciding. He got defensive, saying, "You're overreacting. It's just a name. We haven't even finalized anything yet." But that's exactly why I was upset, because we hadn't finalized anything, and yet she had taken it upon herself to announce a name to the entire family without even talking to me. A few days later, she texted me a photo of a pink baby blanket with the name Rose embroidered on it. No caption, just the picture. I stared at my phone for a solid minute, unsure whether to scream, laugh, or cry. I ended up sending a polite reply, "That's very sweet, but we haven't picked a name yet." She didn't respond. I finally decided I couldn't keep pretending this wasn't bothering me. So I called her and said, as kindly as I could, "Hi, I just wanted to clarify that we haven't chosen a name for the baby yet. I appreciate how much you care, but I'd really prefer if we could take our time and make that decision as a couple." Her response? "Well, I just assumed. I mean, it's a family name and it means so much to us. I named my son, didn't I? I should get a say in naming my granddaughter, too." I was speechless for a second. What did she just say? That because she named Mark, she should name our baby? I tried not to lose my temper and replied, "I understand it's a meaningful name for you, but this isn't just about tradition. It's about what Mark and I want. We'd like to choose a name together that reflects both of us." She sighed and said, "Fine. But don't blame me if the rest of the family's already calling her Rose. It'll be confusing if you pick something else now." That was it. That's when I realized I couldn't be polite anymore. I had to draw a clear line. I sat Mark down that evening and had a serious talk. No emotions, no accusations, just the facts. I told him that this was a hill I was willing to die on, that being the mother of this child meant something. And if he couldn't back me up on something as fundamental as naming our daughter, then what kind of partnership did we really have? He looked shocked at how serious I was, but to his credit, he listened. Really listened. He apologized, said he didn't realize how much it was affecting me, that he thought it was just names, but now he saw it was much deeper than that it was about control, respect, and boundaries. We both agreed to completely start over with the naming process, this time with no outside influence. We made a list of names that we both liked, ones that had significance to us, not to his mom or anyone else. We spent days narrowing it down, talking about meanings, imagining how the name would sound on the first day of school, in a job interview, whispered at bedtime, and finally, we found it. A name we both loved. A name that felt like ours. We announced it with a small post on social media, including a picture of a pair of tiny shoes and her name written in calligraphy. The response was overwhelmingly positive, except, of course, from my mother-in-law. She didn't comment, she didn't like the post, she didn't even acknowledge it for over a week. When she finally did reach out, it was a short message. I guess the name has been chosen. I'll still think of her as Rosie. I didn't reply because here's the thing. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I wasn't trying to cut her out or dismiss her entirely. I just wanted her to respect the fact that this baby, this little human growing inside me, is mine and Mark's to raise. And that means we get to make decisions together, not under pressure from someone else's expectations. I've learned a lot during this pregnancy, not just about hormones and ultrasounds and baby gear, but about boundaries, about how even people who love you can sometimes cross lines without realizing it, and about how important it is to speak up, even when it's uncomfortable. Because if I don't stand up for myself now, what kind of example am I setting for my daughter? So, yes, I stood my ground, and yes, my mother-in-law is still a little frosty about the whole thing, but I can live with that. Because every time I say my daughter's name, every time I whisper it to her while she kicks inside me, I know we made the right choice. Together. And that's what really matters. Now, I'll leave it to you, Reddit. Am I the bad guy here? Was I wrong to push back? Or was this just a case of setting boundaries where they were desperately needed?